Tech Week here at CHOM. Lots of amazing content. So our next speakers are going to be talking about are from Enhanced AI. Just do a show of hands real quickly. Is anyone actively using AI in their business right now? Wow, yes, so exciting. Well, Kelm included, and I'm personally obsessed with AI. My own bot's name is Peaches. She named herself, which is quite funny. And so anyway, without further ado, I just wanted to go ahead and welcome Enhanced AI up.
All right, thank you. Thank you for Trent and everyone for doing the Utah Tech Week. This quickly became one of my favorite parts of the weeks of the whole year. Who's going to like three or four more events this week? Everyone? Yeah, me too. I'm excited. Well, thank you everyone for coming. We were pretty excited to see the guest list kept getting larger and larger, so happy that we could extend and have everyone a part of this. So I'm Brad Moss. I'm the founder of Enhanced AI, and I've been in the AI space, the generative AI space, for about 3 years. So I actually got into it before the big GPT craze, and quickly saw that there was a lot of exciting stuff with this technology, and my mind instantly went toward, hey, there's way more cool stuff that I can build than I'm going to have the capacity in any engineering team to build. And they wouldn't be able to keep up because this technology is so transformative. So we went forward, and we'll show you a little bit about what we built. It's a platform that integrates all the AI systems in one spot, which makes it really easy to orchestrate and build AI agents. And at this point, we built on our system's been over 1,000 agents probably built on our systems. And so we have, and we didn't start off calling them agents, we called them workflows, but as you know, with any new space, technology, everything coalesces. The term RAG was something we were doing way before it's now a thing. We can talk about that a little bit. But it's been really fun to be in this space, and we're really happy to be here and talking about kind of what the future is and what we're seeing as the future of the whole technology stack. So let's jump in and talk about agents as a service. Has anyone seen this acronym before? Maybe when they signed up. There's a lot of talk about how traditional software is completely changing. And I want to start off by going into some details about why that's the case. So CEO of Microsoft has recently said, hey, SaaS is in the past, AI agents are the future. And what does that even mean? But it's pretty interesting that he's now calling SaaS a thing in the past. There's a podcast with the founders and some of the managing directors of Y Combinator, and all of these guys about 3 months ago started saying, hey, agents might be the thing of the future, and it could be actually 10 times the size of the traditional SaaS market for the agents, or the market of the agents. Now, why is that the case? So here's a traditional tech stack, where you have, this is like software, right? I don't think the pointer points at the screen, just points off the screen. So there's a data layer. I'm just really simplifying this. You have the data layer this is the software. There's the data layer. There's a logic layer in between where you're actually interpreting logic. And then there's a UI and UX layer at the top. Sometimes these are intermingled, but let's just make it simple and say this is the 3 major layers of software and how it's built. So why are agents the future, and why is this accelerating so quickly? So let's talk about the logic layer for a minute. Traditionally, when I had to code logic, I had to sit and I had to do a bunch of code. I had to write a bunch of code. It took me months to write code for logic. Okay, I have a certain piece of information I want to come in, I gotta write the code, make sure it works perfectly, blah, 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 I get it out. But that traditionally takes months or years to do. Now with AI, if you're actually passing it through, you can actually use AI as the logic layer in between. So AI is doing all the logic thinking for you. You don't have to code if this, then that. If this is the case, then go do this, do a lookup table, whatever. AI can just take the inputs and give you a really interesting dynamic output, and by the way, it's almost instant results when you do it. So this is actually AI's completely transformed the logic layer in software. So let's go back to the other layer. So the data layer, we're not changing this. The logic layer is what now can be done almost instantly with an AI. And then the top is the UI and UX layer. Now, generative AI was around for a long time, but how many people heard about it before ChatGPT? Probably not very many, right? The point is that they were actually, because of the logic component, they're actually able to create brand new AI, or UI layers, and a UX layer, which was a chat. And everyone realized, oh, as soon as they had chat to interact with this logic layer, boom, it was like the biggest explosion of any software in history, right? They hit over 100 million users faster than anything by multiples. And so this whole slide actually, and I know it's simple, but if you really think about this in the whole software stack, this is amazing what's happening here. And new UI, I actually think a lot of the futures of how we interact with software and all the technology is actually in the UI and UX layer. And this is very under thought and utilized right now because we're actually doing a lot of dealing with the logic layer of AI. But there's brand new interactions that we'll be able to have that we've never had before. Hence the reason for chat. Or there's a lot of audio conversations you can be having with your phone now with AI and things like that. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that's coming around. So challenges as you're thinking about AI agents to rethink these pieces. So let's go back to what are the results from all of this. So SaaS now turns into as software. It's more fun to say actually. Software interfaces. Well, actually, the old ones feel stale, and I'll show you an example in a second. But how many people do traditional Google search still compared to AI search in this group? That's a perfect example of it feels stale and it's old because the UI and the layers that were currently existent are old, and our entire technology infrastructure is right there, or is making this transition right now. The other piece, the results of these agents. Guess what? You had all of these, there's some VCs in the room and folks who see a lot of business cases. One of the main things is, hey, is this a big enough market to spend the time for the months of software development that it used to take to solve this problem? Guess what? That's no longer the case. You don't need to spend months of software development, and there's an opportunity in a service space that I could do something and it might just take me a week to do, and there could be an opportunity in that service space that's $10 million, $100 million, something that's actually worth the ROI because the software is so cheap to build now at this point, that logic layer is so quick, right? So there's actually, this is the huge piece here, is that service businesses probably see this enormous, huge boom. So Scott Galloway, kind of quasi-famous NYU professor, his goal is to be the most influential business influencer on the planet. He's a fantastic guy. I was on a stage with him years ago, my former Amazon background. I love to follow the stuff he shows and his predictions. He's got a great methodology, and one of his big predictions for this year is that service. He calls it service as a software. Which, think about the ultimate result here is because AI can do so much, and you can build these agents with all these customized logic, could you get to software margins on a traditional service business? Traditional service business has maybe 10 to 20% margins, and can you get to 80% margins with a service business by using agents and software with the way that the AI is built? And so that's his prediction for 2025. I actually think it's going to take one more year to fully get there, but that's one of his predictions. But this is the most interesting reason this could be 10 times the size, agents could be 10 times the size of traditional software. All the way from Sequoia, software market, about $650 billion. Right now, the AI software market was tiny, it's about $3 billion. But the whole services and software market is about $10 trillion. So there's this huge opportunity of all these microservices and things that were taking way too long to code, and way too long to build the interfaces for, that now you can shift into what we call AI agents, and using AI as the logic between all of these, and you can build out all of these systems, and the opportunity is actually quite large. And it could be cut up into small micro, it could be services that cover a full swath of use cases there. So let's go into, again, as the new market comes and coalesces, how do we define an AI agent? I've seen this defined very many ways by very many people. And I actually did my own little LinkedIn survey and said, how do you define an agent? What was interesting is that not very many people chose the self-learning digital tool, which is what I thought more people would have actually chosen. But most folks considered it an automated system using AI or an autonomous decision maker that uses AI. So let's actually break it down. I don't think there's one definition, actually, like most things. I think it's more like there's tiers of what is an agent. But let's say an AI agent is anything that incorporates on the most basic level some kind of an automated system that's integrated with AI. So software, where you've integrated an AI logic layer into it, that could be considered an AI agent. Next step up, the way I consider the next step up is if you actually get AI agent governance, which what that means is you have a system that does something, you can actually send the results to AI and say, hey, what do you think? And then give it parameters, and then it sends it back. Hey, I think you should go do this instead, or go down one of these 3 different branches of information. So that's the next, what I consider the next level up. And then the most advanced is the swarm intelligence, where you have multiple of these AI agent governance dealing with multiple agents of intelligence, and that's where you start getting really gnarly things, and probably a lot of problems if you don't do this very, very carefully. But you might have multiple agents that are all governing different parts, like a human organization, right? You got marketing, you have sales, you have HR. There's people who are managing these different pieces. Imagine that on kind of an agent level when you're building these AI agent systems. And by the way, you can build these so quickly because of AI, right? And you still stick the LLM inside the middle. So that's how I'm defining agents for now. So let's do a couple of example use cases of what is an AI agent versus SaaS, traditional SaaS. This was the first one showing traditional Google results, which not as many people use anymore. Google's filling in. I know traffic's down 15%, or at least the referral traffic's down 15% year over year, which is the latest report. With AI, by the way, my favorite go-to tool that's not my own tool is Perplexity, because it has a search logic on top of whatever system that I want to use as the actual brain, the LLM. But this is giving me more relevant results. And I said, hey, just give me the results that I want right by me. Now, Google's all about relevance, but I could say even more of AI. Hey, I have this kind of health insurance, and I'm looking for a dental place. And this wouldn't do that now, but that's a good agent would do that, right? Where it knows more about you and you can actually get the exact results that you want right away from it. So another example, traditional customer service. We've seen a lot of excitement in this space. I think it's one of the more easy low-hanging fruits to convert to an agent system. With AI, having AI agents and logic, there's still a lot more to do here. By the way, one thing that I did this about a year ago. So this is an example of our tool. What happens is whenever you have an AI call come in, all the prompt does is it looks at what you talked about before, and then it looks at about what you're asking it now, and that's basically a chat system. So when I had it, the persona, I changed the personality to be Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. So it would talk really angry at me, or it would talk really nice to me. And if it was talking angry, it would lie to me every time it would talk to me. But it was a fun thought experiment because I basically said, hey, if it's happy, go down this route. If it's sad, go down this route. And it would change the logic all the time. But I built this in, I don't know, it was one of our experiments I did in maybe 30 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And I had this agent that was like changing his personalities, right? And that's what's exciting about where we are in this space, that you can change stuff so quickly and try a lot of things. And there's a lot of I come from the entertainment and kind of video game space, so I'd say boring ways of interacting with people. With agents, you can actually get really, really engaging and get things more interesting. I don't think you probably do with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but you can do something like that with an agent system. Let's talk about blogs for a quick second. Blog generations, right? If you read this, now this is my perspective. Here's a blog generation service, right? All aboard, build your plan, request your content, receive and review your content, leave your feedback, and build your team, right? Like that's kind of a traditional thing. I built, I'm going to switch to this real quickly, an automated blog generator agent that every single day the agent goes through and it finds the latest news. It knows who my target audience is. It looks at everything I've written before, and then writes an article. It writes it again. It writes it a third time, like I would if I was drafting something. I would go through multiple drafts. I have different agents thinking about it each time it rewrites it. And then it actually it's connected to all my SEO keywords that I want to embed into my blog article. And it injects those into my article. And then it generates an image for me for my article, and then automatically uploads it onto my WordPress site every single day. I have 140 articles, and I haven't touched it in 2 months. Now, I should spend more time on it, I know, and I can improve it. But I'll show you a quick demo. Edgar's going to do more of the demos than I am, but I'll show you a quick example of this system. This is our platform where we create these AI agents and systems on a simple no-code platform. And basically we have access to all of the AI models. Again, we've aggregated all these AI systems in one place to make it really easy to orchestrate them. So we have text generators, we have all the visual generators generating images, reading images, audio transcriptions, audio voice generators, some data connections for the technical folks. So you're connected with like vector databases and uploading things like that into those. We're connected to Google Sheets and SQL databases. So any way you want to go through data. Understanding the web, so is where we're scraping web pages, we're doing Google searches, various things like that. And then we have these kind of decisions you can do with some of the functionality. And then everything you build is an API, or you can call it from an email, or you can call it, put it in any existing system you have. It's really, really flexible the way we built this. Edgar will do a little bit more explaining in a second. But what this agent system does, basically it's doing the prepping the article information, where it grabs what are people talking about today that has to do with that subject. Actually, in the general topic area, what are they talking about today? So it looks at all the latest articles that just came in this morning. And what you would normally search for if I was writing my own blog article. And then it does the first iteration of the blog article, and it does a reference to all my previous articles that are down here. And it looks what I have written about, so it's always writing about something new. And then I make it sound, I don't like the way AI talks, so my first agent says, make this sound more like Gary Vee. I like the way he's very direct, and he's not too salesy, he's just like straightforward. I don't say write like him, I say make it more like him and real and not salesy. So it actually changes the hook of the article. And then it rewrites it the first time with that information, and then goes to this last time where we're including all our SEO keywords, and we're actually rewriting with some more finesse into the article. And then it generates the image right here. What we do is we have AI tell us, or we give AI the article, and we say, write an image prompt to generate an image for this thing. You don't have to generate your own prompts anymore. And so this is the latest image based on the style guides I've given it. And then we have a JSON structure that basically it's the structure that the website would read. And then we take that and we say, hey, this is a similar structure. Rewrite this new article with the same kind of structure guidance that does it. And then it pushes it up to the website. Again, does that every single day for us. So that's a quick example there. If I go to slideshows again and pick up where we were. Yes. Okay. All right. So there are agents ready for prime time. Some are, let's talk about two issues that are still out there with AI agents. So one issue, and don't get fooled, that's why I bring this up, there's a memory problem. Still, there's a memory problem. Let's talk about this last year. There's still a memory problem with AI, and it's okay. We'll talk about it in a little more detail. And then agent orchestration. So when you think forward about whatever you're building, how do you orchestrate all these agents and they're interacting and working together or on their own? There's no system that I know of that's built to be able to do this orchestration. AWS 3 days ago just announced a new kind of system that's trying to help orchestration, but again, it's going to be on the tech layer, not on like the business person layer. That's easy to kind of see. So let's talk about the memory problem real quick. What I like to say with AI, and why a lot of people don't get AI, I like to say it's the left brain of technology. Meaning, or sorry, AI is not the left brain. We've been dealing with the left brain of technology for the last 40 years. We are all used to dealing with technology that is exact, it's precise, it knows it will put the formula, it gives you the output. That's kind of much more like the left brain. And that's how people are used to dealing with technology. So when you go to a computer, you expect it to deal that way. But AI is this whole new paradigm where it's actually the right brain of technology. It's creative, it's procedural, and it actually follows patterns that it's been taught. It's been taught trillions of patterns. That's why it does what it does. And it actually, just mentioning over lunch, the only reason it knows that, I'm sorry. The only reason that it knows George Washington was the president of the United States is because it was told that 100,000 times in the patterns that it was reading, right? When you ask it, how did Tupac die? Like it might give you some, some answer, but it doesn't fully know, right? It doesn't have exact data it's pulling from. It just pulls from all of its generally trained information set on it, right? So it's two different kinds of technologies. Someone asked me one time and said, hey, can I just feed it these million rows of order information and get the average order value? And I just give this document of a million rows of orders. And I said, no, actually, you can't do that. AI cannot give you the average order value. When you would think a technology could, right? Because normal technology, you could. AI can't. What it can, or generative AI cannot. What it can do is it can write a SQL script that would then go hit your database and then figure out the average order values and then give back. And then you can have it. So you have to think it's a little different technology because you can't just expect everything from it, like we kind of think in some science fictions. So there's another underlying piece, and we were talking about this. Still need to talk about it until people, as people are learning. There's a concept called vector databases out there versus traditional databases. They're very different. They're both storing information. Traditional database is just like a map where you can say, hey, A12, and you know the exact spot to go to, and it pull the information and gives it to you. That's a normal database. A vector database is much more like a library where you're like, I'm going to the fiction section and looking at things about water, and there's Moby Dick, right? Or there's a couple of books, and it would return all the books that are in the fiction section about water. It doesn't know exactly what you're looking for. That's how vector databases work. It's much more based on generally semantic search, unless you change your vector database structure. But so when you're dealing with the exact precision out of AI, you're not going to get exactly what you want. That's why this memory is still a problem. You don't get exactly what you want because we're still working on this piece. Now, one last piece is that and Google just announced 2 weeks ago this new transformer system, and they're working on this. It's a new transformer architecture. The problem with AI is like my 7-year-old. I tell him to clean his room. There's two problems. So first, if I tell him to clean his room, he's going to go clean his Legos and make his bed and come back and be like, I'm done. I'll be like, you didn't clean your clothes, you didn't clean up your stuffed animals. It's because I just said clean your room. But if I tell him exactly what to do, those 5 things, then he'll go do them and actually clean his room. He's a pretty good kid. But if I gave him 30 things to do, and I said, hey, clean this, clean this, clean this, clean this, whatever, his brain would like explode, and he would just do like 3 or 4 things, and then come back and be like, my room's clean, and it wasn't clean, right? Because it was too much information for him to have come in. Now, AI also works like that. That's why memory is the problem, is that We are building essentially the corpus callosum, the thing that talks between the right and left side of the brain. That's being built now, and sophisticated ways of dealing with this memory problem are being worked on. So when you're trying to get exact data out of AI, it's not doing it because these layers in between are still being worked on. The technology is not solved yet. And so you're getting cool stuff out of AI. It's generative, but it may not be exactly what you want. And what you have to do is you have to give it what it needs, the right context, the relevance, and it needs to be accurate. And that has to be in the information that you're feeding it to get it back into the system when you start developing. Now, I know I'm going pretty deep, but we're talking about agents here, so hopefully this is helping. The last piece is orchestration. I'm not going to go very deep into here, but this is a problem, orchestrating all of your agents as you start proliferating these agents. We're thinking, I'm thinking 12 months ahead or 24 months ahead. When companies start pulling in agents, we've had some clients coming and saying, well, if everyone's building agents, which everyone should be building agents, how do you know what's built? How do you track everything that's happening? And there's no real systems out there that are trying to track that right now. One thing that we are doing that we have in our system is you actually can do some orchestration. But we're doing more improvements to make it even easier and better to understand what's triggering, when it's triggering, what's calling what. But you can have these governance agents where it's like, hey, this agent is calling these 3 agents, and then the results come back, and then it does something with it, and it keeps getting smart along the line. So we built this platform we call FluxPrompt, and basically, like I said, it integrates about 150 different AI models and systems into one place to make building agents really, really easy and quick, and we love doing it. I was showing these guys some goofy ones I built the other day. We do it all the time. We have a Friday showcase where we always talk about the fun agents that we built that week. I'm now going to hand it over to Edgar to show a couple of examples of other agents, very applicable business agents we built that he has particularly built many of these that help showcase some of the power that we're starting to see. Go ahead.
Thanks, Brad. Appreciate that. I'm excited to take you guys through a case study. Is there feedback coming? Oh, okay, sounds good. A case study that shows how powerful our platform is. The company that we're reviewing today is Medical Exams. We changed the title a little bit of the company. They are essentially specialists in Social Security disability evaluations. So what that means is if somebody wants some disability, then they have to prove to the government that this is what they need help with. And so then they go to this company and get evaluated. This company works with doctors and nurses, and once all the exams are done, this company goes and basically combs through all of the documents and then puts an evaluation together. And some of these can be really simple, like 4 pages, right? And some of them can be very complicated, 20 plus pages. So it can take anywhere, and even the simpler ones, with a template and a process that they've cultivated over time, it still can take anywhere from 2 to 6 hours, depending on the client. They came to us and they said, look, we know AI can help us with this, but we're trying all these things and they're not working. And they're trying GPTs or they're going to different LLMs and they can't figure it out. Within 1 week of working with this company, we were able to create an AI agent that took their process from 2 to 4 hours down to 5 minutes. And it's actually really, really good, like really good content. I went and did just a little experiment. I took the content that they gave me, right, and I put it into Anthropic, which is an LLM that we love. They are known for analysis and for writing, and it barely put together 2 pages, 546 words, and it wasn't very accurate. I compared it to what we created, and then I asked Anthropic to kind of grade itself, and it said, oh, I'm about 65% accurate. And then it told me all the things it missed. And as you can see, there's a long list of these things. So no wonder our client was getting frustrated with AI, right? But our platform was able to create a solid AI agent that now his entire team is using every single day. What this means for them is that they actually, not only did it cut down on time, but now they can get more clients through the process, so they'll get more money as well. So I don't want to go too much detail about how we did everything. I'm going to touch on a few things here and there. But just know that we've been doing this for a while now. We've built over 1,000 of these agents, and we've learned a lot of good things. Some of the best practices is that if you want something really solid, you have to break it down. You have to break it down into smaller parts. You also have to take those smaller parts and put some effort into it. You have to think about all of the different pieces that step is going to create. You have to feed it specific examples, maybe direct it to know where the information is at and where you should be able to find it. One that I love to use is use AI to request just the verification of the facts. So check itself. We're dealing with medical documents, and we have some clients in law, and so these documents have to be very precise and accurate. Anyway, so another thing too is that one of the things that our client said was, I want these documents to be very specific format and styling. We've been doing this a long time. We want to make sure that it's exactly the way that we like them. And that's one of my passions. I don't think people need to change their process just to use AI. And our platform allows you to do exactly what you like to do, the way that you like to do it, and very easily. Okay, a couple of other things that might be of interest to you guys is shots. Not in the way that some of us are thinking about shots. We're talking about like shots in AI are just the explicit instructions that you give AI. Brad mentioned earlier, SaaS was built on thousands of instructions. When I worked at Microsoft, we had a product, and it was hundreds of pages long. And that was all the rules and all the different things that this product needed to do. With AI, you don't need that, but you need some. There are some things. A zero shot is basically products that don't require any explicit instruction. Those can work for certain things. You've probably seen a bunch of these note aggregators or summarizers, right? Those are great. You feed it your video, no instruction whatsoever, and you get a summary. And it works great for that specific use case. Sometimes people don't really like that, and so they would need to add a few more shots to get it to the right format that they want. But for the cost, makes sense, right? But if you're talking about complex tasks, you're going to need more shots. You're not going to need 200, 300 pages worth of requirement docs. You're going to need a little bit. But the nice thing is once you get those few shots going and you get your process just right, after that, it's just gold after that, right? You just feed it every single day, every single hour, every single minute, and it just produces exactly what you want. Another thing is context window, and I'll go through this one quick. Context window is just basically how much the AI system can intake and output. And the context window takes into consideration both of those things. So as you can see, there's the different systems up here have different context windows. So you might look at this and say, oh yeah. Gemini has 1 million tokens of input. Tokens are essentially 3/4 of a word. Think about it that way. That wasn't very helpful, was it? Anyway, but you might look at Gemini and say, oh yeah, it's got so much context. I'm just going to throw everything in there. and then it's going to print out this beautiful, magical thing. The problem is that when you feed it a ton of information, then yes, it's good in some ways. It can go and find connections. Hey, there's this one document over here, there's another document, they're talking about the same thing, and it kind of finds those. The problem is that sometimes it gets distracted. You are giving it so much information that it might say, oh, I like this part over here, I'm going to throw it in, when it hasn't, it shouldn't have done that. Another thing is that it's very expensive and it's time consuming, right? The more you put into it and the more you expect out is going to take a lot longer. So then the other option is, let's just feed it the right information so that it can get the right result. That's great, it works. The problem is that for our client to go through all of these documents and find just the right information and then hook it up to AI, that takes probably longer than just like combing through and like annotating their results. So there's pros and cons there. So really the best strategy is a hybrid strategy. Our platform makes it so that you can take information, feed it into any step of the process, and it makes it really easy for you to just find the right information to give and the right information to take out. Now, the other thing that you have to consider is that in order to get the best quality of your outputs, you can't stick with one family of AI. If you did that, then you would have terrible images using OpenAI, because DALL-E's not that great. But every single one of these AI systems has their strengths, right? Claude, which is made by Anthropic, is phenomenal at writing. That's all they focus on. They don't do images, they don't do video, they just write, and they're really good. But GPT has plenty of really great pros. Gemini, as we talked about, has a large context window. And then when we go into the images as well, we've got Ideogram which does letters really well. So it can create illustrations with letters fantastically well. And you've got Flux that does photorealistic images. In order to have the best quality of your results, you're going to want to use various different systems. It's the same thing for voice and the same thing for video. And others, like calculations, etc. Our product, we have over 100 tools in our product, and we have over 100 AI systems in our product, and dozens of other cool tools that are like plugged into CRM or Google search, etc. It makes it so easy for you to turn and combine all of this technology and get the very best quality. The last thing, it's very familiar UX. If you use Miro or Lucid or FigJam, you can use our product. It's the same concept. You have tools on the left, you drag them, you connect them, and voila. The other thing too is that our product makes it so easy for you to actually customize every part of your process. So let me take you through a demo real quick. This is, and I'll go through this quick because I know we're running out of time. This is the company, oh my gosh, I just realized that I left their logo on there. Anyway, but this is the product that they wanted, right? At the very end, what they wanted was this document. It's very, very specific, very detailed. And as I mentioned, when you try to do this with AI, it's not going to get you really good results. So what we did is we basically made it possible so that you could go in here and take all of the documents that you have. So there's the Social Security page that you need. There's the transcript of the conversation that they're having with the nurse, the patient exam, the medical vitals, and any background medical records. All they do is upload those documents for each client, and the very first step that it does is it comes here, because they have to be accurate. The first thing that we're doing here is basically double checking every one of those records and saying, are these the same person? And also, what are some things in these documents that don't make sense? And so it outlines all of those things. So now the boss can send this out to their team, and now they can recognize and look through it and be confident that what they're doing is correct, or where they need to be careful. And then what we do is we take every section that are similar sections, and we create AI for it, for every single step. And I'll show you just very quickly instructions. We put a lot of really great thought into the instructions. Like, what are the things that you should be looking for? What are the different formatting? What are some of the definitions, and etc. And then once we do that, we put it all together into a document, and now they can download it as a docx if they want. They can send it to Drive. They can do all sorts of things. They can put it into a different flow and analyze it further if they wanted to. Right? So anyway, that is my part of the presentation. I think we are going on to Q&A, or did you want to show something else?
Yeah. So yeah. Thanks, Edgar. So let's move on to, you should come up here, stand up here. We're going to do some Q&A in just a minute. There's a couple other cool agents, just brief examples, just wanted to call these out. We've done interesting, I think this is actually an interesting spot where things are moving. Chatbots, why are we still filling out forms in 2025? When a chatbot essentially could have a conversation and push all that information into a form or into a database system. We're doing that now. It's pretty cool. We even have like really, really long conversations with people and record like key components out of that conversation. We've worked with some consulting companies that are having big long interviews with people inside the company, maybe 100 interviews. They want to find out, job performance and whatever else. You can take all that, crunch it through AI, and actually spit out into like a nice data set really fast. So I actually think the whole huge marketing right there. The lead scoring is something we've been doing for a company now. We have about 10,000. This one company, real estate company out of Dubai, they have about 10,000 leads running through every single month, and it's a lead scoring system. And one of the coolest things about AI is that you can now do things. People are doing things they know they should have been doing, but never did, which is like scoring leads, right? A lot of times they're like, just dump it to the sales team, right? But actually, if you score these leads, their performance is now increasing on conversion rates and close rates. And this system basically just takes a new lead that comes in, actually does a little internet research about each one of them, and then pushes it in and actually scores the lead according to their dynamics of how they want the lead scored. The sales team coaching and reporting, we have a customer who's doing actually several, who all the sales calls that come in is connected with HubSpot. We have another one who's doing with Salesforce. Any call that comes in, it goes and it reads, interprets that call, and then scores it according to how the sales manager wants it scored. So like he just changes dynamically like how he wants his team to be doing things. There's no preset software. He just goes in and just types it right in the system. And then he gets a weekly report about everybody. So we take all their calls about every single agent and all the calls they did, and then crunch that in AI and gives a weekly report for the sales manager on that system. And then we have a cool, just another interesting one, I think is more creative, is a storybook app that we've partnered with this group. It's doing a pretty cool storybook app. You put in something simple, and you basically create a whole storybook in a matter of minutes with images and everything. You print it off, personal stories, family stories, whatever you want to do with it. It's a pretty cool system. So, before questions. Last thing, anyone feel free to reach out to us at any point, Team in Enhanced AI. We're also launching, I asked back in November, who wants learning about AI and AI agents and teaching them? And I got a lot of really positive responses from it. So we're actually launching a course that we're going to do, limited seats, but we have several people signed up already. We're going to be doing cohorts, and first cohort, we're doing a course just teaching people like the deep pieces of building AI agents, particularly building them on inside of our platform. And that's what this is all about. But we'd love to help train, even corporate training on doing some of this too. We feel like we just need to tell people how to do this stuff. So, all right, let's take a pause there and go to any questions in the room about anything we talked about or even anything we haven't talked about.
Do you have modules that you can rent out or get by subscription?
Yeah. We've actually built several that if you don't want to do the whole platform, you could actually just do one or two of these modules. The other thing is that we've had some clients who are building their own modules and then selling them, and we love it. We think it's great. So you can build a module, build some really simple software on top of it, and put it inside the system. In fact, we have one that's some of these guys in this room have built a pretty cool marketing agency kind of module. That's pretty awesome that they would use it with the platform. So, all right, what other questions?
How sophisticated does the front-end integration now look? You know, when you take what you're building in the back end, which is very technical, very prompt-driven. Now I want to build an app, or I want to build a whole SaaS platform on top of this. Like, how do you think about that? And is that part of your process, or just generally where the industry's going from the back end to front end?
Yeah, so, and that's why I like that slide at the very beginning of there's the data layer, the logic layer, and then the UI layers. We've been primarily all in the logic layer over the last couple of years. We've actually been doing stuff in the UI layer now also. And this is one of them, so we built something we call a form builder, for lack of a better term. I'm sure we'll come up with a better name for it. But basically, you can input, it's a form that you could, after you build the flow, you can then create a form that someone just fills out, and those are inputs inside the flow that can trigger anywhere inside the flow. So this is how we're solving it. All of these flows that we build, this is foundational. Everything you build is an API, so you can call it from an API, you can call it from a webhook. You can just say, send one shot to it, and you can respond back to a webhook, respond back to an email. There's an API system inside of it, so you can call APIs during the workflow. So you can send data or get data, particularly at the very end of the flow. But then there's also this kind of front-end user interface here. We also have a chat system that you can build your own customized chat agents inside of our platform. And that's one of these two are like more prominent we're seeing. That's why we're spending some dev time on building a chat agent that's really flexible. And we're still building some pieces to make that even more powerful, and then kind of a form agent that you could use. But if you wanted to, you could just put it in. We have plenty of people who are just putting it in the software and just using our platform as a quick logic layer to the existing stack that they have with their AI or with whatever their software system is.
When creating that agent flow, using so many different models and maybe so many different steps, how do you keep track of things like rate limiting and cost for the API calls you're using to the models? How do you see what it's going to cost you?
Yeah, so he's asking how do we keep track of rate limits and how do we keep track of all the calls. So we actually built, there's a big process we did last year, we built a currency conversion for all the models and all the systems. So we actually have a currency conversion layer across every single model that's in our platform. There's a cost, there's an input token cost, output token cost, sometimes it changes if it's audio and all that. So we built a whole conversion layer so everything converts into a common, what we call flux token inside the platform, and so you know token usage. We actually, every time you run something, there's a dollar amount that will show exactly how much that costs to run that execution of the flow. Make it really simple to optimize your workflows and your agents. And we also, you don't need to have an account with everything, with all of these models and systems. We have a kind of a master account. Now you could, work through putting your own, but really it's a master account. It makes it much simpler, so you don't have to have an account with whatever 150 different systems that we have set up in here. You're just like, well, let me try Gemini, let me try all these other ones to make it really simple to use. Yeah.
Imagine the graph that you've got at some point is just some sort of like a JSON representation, right? Have you tried to take your particular products, the JSON that would perhaps hydrate one of those graphs, and have the LLMs write your agentic flows for you?
That's right. Yes. So that is the vision, and we're working on it now. We're actually, one of our guys in here somewhere is actually working on that project right now. So the idea would be really cool where you come in, we're going to have a smart bot where it will help you build exactly what you need, right? So it's over there on the right side, you're telling it what you want to do. It will understand what's on your diagram or on your canvas, and then it will generate nodes, it will generate connections, and it will also edit things. So that's a really cool, exciting thing.
And the automated
Just to
agents.
follow up, if
Yeah.
that were to be the case, the back end, what, are you using open source SDKs, or are you guys writing the individual calls for each
So-
special module that you have?
So for our own system, we have all our own libraries that's running and tracking a lot of these things. We have plenty of open source pieces that are put in software, like almost every software company does, right? But for our own pieces, we're tracking and having some of our own, what are all the definitions to create that AI agent, right? Because that agent would need to know definition of terms and a bunch of other information that we work through. But the vision is basically you come in here, tell them what you want, and we have a working prototype. You tell it what you want, it builds the whole thing out for you, and you're like, cool, that's a way of getting started, right? That's even, we have 120, we didn't mention it, 120 templates in the platform now, but our thought's like, wait, that's not even, I mean, that's old, like templates are old, like AI, the agentic stuff is the future. Instead of a template, just tell it what you want, and it'll come up with 3 different versions of it, and then you can go from there. Yeah, so that's definitely, the vision. Yeah.
How do you think about the human side, specifically like overseeing these agents, right? So as the systems get more complex and you're trying to operationalize this in a business and want to make sure, whether it's from the cost side of making sure it stays all positive, or just kind of from that orchestration view, agents aren't legally liable currently, they don't have rights, they don't have responsibilities. So at some point, a human has to have enough insight to say, I'm sure that the outlays compliant and is within the bounds of whatever that he is legally responsible for. So I'm just curious about that interaction and how you guys, as this system, empowers more and more agentic action, what systems you're building or maybe how you already have built visibility into those actions so that you can provide oversight.
Yeah, that's a really good question. You want to take it for
Yeah, you bet. Well, right now, one of the things that we've built already in place is that we give a lot of data to the admins. It makes it really easy for them to access any agent, understands how much they cost to run, understands like what they actually do. They can turn off systems, so if you want somebody using ChatGPT, you can turn it off so that nobody has access to it. So we're giving it a ton of capability there. That's just the beginning of that. Then we've been talking about adding a dashboard where you can easily access a lot of these different agents much quicker, a lot faster, so that you can monitor them a lot better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so, and then to dovetail on that, right now the system, there's a lot of human things that you can do. So we have an email, something that you can kick off an email whenever something triggers, right? So I actually do get an email when my blogs post every morning. But I can have an email where it sends the information to me, and you can have any outputs you want in these nodes. I could put 50 of them. So you could, I imagine, how you orchestrate your agent. We're like, hey, I just want to see the output every time. It spits it out, and then once it's done, okay, now move on to the next step and then the next process. So you can be triggering these to send to you proactively. So you're tracking a lot of the stuff that happens. But I think one thing that does get appreciated is that we have this whole system for orchestration and management of all the LLM models of token usage. Like you can turn it all on and off and throttle it. That's the benefit of having a platform like this that our customers have loved by having a system like that. Yeah.
So if I can throw this on, this was not planted, but we're advanced AI users. We love it.
Nice.
And I just gotta say, it's incredible. It is the limit of your imagination and how skilled you are on a technical base. Pull in some technical people, ask for their help, but the creativity is the limit. Your imagination is the limit of what you can do building these agents. It is mind-blowing.
Thanks, Pete. That's who was not planted.
I'll take a check.
You want some dinner tonight, don't you?
Yeah. So, in the example that we see, is that hosted on your environment on there? Because
No.
for medical
Yep.
situation like that, enterprise and so forth, right?
Yeah.
How do you ensure enterprise
Yeah, so those pieces of our platform primarily acts as a pass-through, and we don't store the information. Like if you're connected to the database, you pull it, pass it through, and then it erases like instantly. So we have several medical clients that are doing that. There's more work to be done, I think, in certain cases to make sure pass all HIPAA stuff. But yeah, we've been aware of it, especially as we've been dealing with plenty of HIPAA for our medical clients.
Yeah, and the nice thing about our system too is that you can use whichever LLM you feel comfortable with. If you want to use open source, if you want to use ChatGPT or Anthropic, whatever, it's just whatever you feel comfortable using.
It was the same question. That's a huge black box for me. It's with any company you're gonna have a data set. Are you willing to share that with?
And pass it through and choose the right one. That's the reason why you can do open source and that for particular LLMs that you want to be using.
Yeah. Just curious, when you pulled up, when you asked your model and it said that it got 99% accuracy, what metrics was it using to get that accuracy?
I'm going to be completely honest. It was our client. He and I reviewed many of them, and he got to the point where he's like, "Whoa, this is really good." Got to the point where he was even better than some of the manual stuff that they were working on, and so that's what he felt. Honestly, felt like that's the level that we got to. Now, if we wanted to go through and actually analyze that, completely doable. That's 100% doable, right? And we can go in. One thing that we could do is take that output and run it through a couple of other AIs and just say, okay, I need you to fact check all of these things, which we could absolutely do.
All right, I think we're out of time, but we'll stick around for a little bit. Happy to answer any questions, but thank you very much.